Guess who's back in the house? I hope that you guys are having a lovely day. I just watched Drag Race UK Season 1, Episode 2 in West Hollywood at Mickey's nightclub. And I am excited to discuss this episode with you all. Before I get started, I can't remember if I discussed last week, but Drag Race UK, there is no cash prize, and there is no cash prize because of the rules of the BBC. BBC doesn't allow any shows that airs on that channel to give away any prizes. There can be no commercials that are shown. All of their shows are commercial free, and there can't be any paid sponsorships. And so that's the reason why the contestants don't win anything that has like monetary value. What they do win, hi James, what they do win is I think it's called a Rue Peter badge, which is a play on a blue Peter badge, which is what young kids win on a show on the BBC. And so what the winner of this particular show will receive is they will be flown out to LA, and they will get a their own like web series, which will be produced by Wow Presents, which is kind of cool. I love all of their shows that appear on the YouTube channel. So I'm whoever wins, I'm excited for them because it could actually lead to a bigger opportunity. Katya and Trixie, their show was originally on Wow Presents, and they got picked up for Vice. So I'm curious as to see what will happen with that in the future. And there were a few comments from the video last week. And so someone wrote in the comments, but also my good friend Roberto, who's at his night job in downtown LA. I'll let you guys figure out what he does for his night job. Um, Stated that they didn't have a favorite queen to root for. And so I'm actually curious who you guys are rooting for. Just leave me in the comment section, or if you're watching live, who you're rooting for. Um, and so I found that fascinating. He said that he really couldn't um, pick one person who wowed him or excited him. And so there were a few contestants that actually I really love, and so I was shocked by that and the comments that were left in the last video. And someone also wrote in the previous video from last week about Scaredy Cat. And so I watched episode 1 in a bar. It was loud, people were screaming, and I really couldn't hear a lot. And so Scaredy Cat stated that he was married to a drag queen. So I actually assumed that he was gay. Um, but it came out this episode that he is actually not gay. He considers himself to be bisexual, leaning towards straight, and the person that he's engaged to is a bio queen. And so I think that's fascinating. Um, I think this is the first contestant in the Drag Race universe who is actually straight and a contestant on the show. Um, so I think that's amazing. Kind of like looking at because in if any of you watch Dragula, there is a former contestant who actually is straight and does drag. And so I hope this kind of like leads into other performers who will be allowed on the show. So maybe people who are openly trans or drag kings. So it's definitely going in the right direction. I hope it keeps going in this direction. So for this particular episode, the mini challenge was for the Vivian who won episode one's main challenge to place queens in order from top to bottom. I guess seeing who are the best contestants. And so in the very top of the line was Vinegar Strokes, and at the very bottom was Scaredy Cat. And so Rue put a twist on it and made the bottom Scaredy Cat a team captain and the Vivian for this week's main challenge. And so the main challenge is Downton Draggy, where the contestants would have to do an acting skit in the vein of Downton Abbey. And for the runway challenge, they have to um, put together like a Bond girl esque outfit. And so I was really curious about what the actual runway would look like. But we'll talk about that later. And so Scaredy Cat gets to pick who's on her team first. And I was really shocked that she didn't pick Vinegar Strokes because, as we learned last week, that Vinegar Strokes was actually in a play in London with Michelle Visage, and Vinegar actually is a working actor. And I thought that was interesting. And the first person that I can't even remember who the first person that Scaredy Cat picked. But it wasn't Vinegar Strokes, and it wasn't, I believe it wasn't Davina. I think it was Cheryl that he picked first. And so, again, I was in a bar, it was very loud. So, some of the kind of like dialogue in between the section I missed. And I am trying to pick up these British slang words. And so, one kind of like phrase that confused me was sly and snide. If anybody knows what that means, please tell me. I have no idea what that means. It will give me context into one of the conversations that was going on. They need like they need to have like on the side of the screen to have like a dictionary so we can like go along actively during their conversations. I for any Dragula fans that are watching, um, I think that Scaredy Cat and Albora are like long lost brothers. Do any of you guys agree with me? I think they have like a similar look. Um, just let me know in the comment section if you agree with me, and if you don't, that's fine too. um, and so after the kind of like they're kind of like talking about their roles. There's a lot of kind of like conversation about Cheryl Hole not really representing herself, and she's being really loud and obnoxious. And I don't know. I didn't like that they were saying this behind her back. I wish someone would have kind of like spoken to her in her face because I felt as if there was going to come to a point in the episode where everyone would just kind of like gang up on her. And so after they have completed um, the skit with Michelle, which I didn't love anyone during the actual skit, it just seemed really bad. Um, and I was hoping that through like editing, I would kind of like love someone. The people that, well, one person that stood out to me was Davina. I thought that she did a great job. Everyone else were just kind of like blah during the actual skit. And so after that, when they go into the workroom and they're getting ready for the challenge, there are two great conversations that happen. Vinegar Strokes talks about what it means to be black and gay of Caribbean descent. And I don't know, I just have this idea of kind of like in in kind of like England that it's easier to be black and gay. And so he said that it was very difficult. Um, and that was really surprising to me. But then I thought about, oh my gosh, like Caribbean life, that I think people of color in the Caribbean tend to be very religious. And that's something that I kind of like forget about. Um, Especially there seems to be kind of like mob mentality in Jamaica when it comes to people who are black and gay. I've I've heard of kind of like horror stories of black gay people who are brutalized, um, attacked, and sometimes murdered for coming out as gay. And so I'm really glad that he vocalized that and talked about that because he's speaking to someone else's existence. And then Something Wong grew up in a very traditional Chinese family that was very conservative. His parents did everything for him so he could have a better life. And he's never told his parents that he does drag. And he has not told his parents that he lives with his partner of 5 years. I don't know if I could, one, be with someone for 5 years and never tell my family about them. I don't have the best relationship with my family, but I would tell someone in my family. Um, and like, I was curious, like, if his parents, if they come over for dinner, if he goes to their home for holidays, like, how does that even work? I couldn't imagine being in a relationship with someone who um, their parents didn't know about me. And so that just seems very odd. And I hope that with this airing that he's able to kind of like open up that conversation with his parents about drag and the person that he loves. And so I loved all of those conversations. Um, and so we get to the runway. RuPaul looked stunning. Um, RuPaul had on a very simple black sequin gown that had a slit that was like almost up to his waist, showing off his legs. RuPaul has really been showing off his legs like the past, um, like All Stars and the previous like Drag Race stateside. And so I'm really loving this kind of like freer Rue. Um, and the wig, I think this is the best wig I've ever seen Rue wear, ever. Um, it looked exquisite. Like I loved it. Almost like human hair. I thought it was like human hair. And it like it was growing out of his scalp as well. So I really loved Rue's look. So um, we have the Bond Girl theme. And so the Vivian walked out first, and I actually loved her look. Um, the second she hit the stage, I got the reference to Grace Jones, was this beautiful sequin cat suit that was kind of like loose, kind of like in the leg, in the sleeves, and I loved it. And then the Vivian said that she was inspired by Grace Jones, so I was like, yes, I got it. I know this story. Um, so Vivian was one of the like top looks of the night for me. Something Wrong, mall chic. I didn't love it. It seemed like something that she bought at Rainbow. I really did not care for it at all. The vinegar. I was really disappointed with vinegar because last week, um, what she had on the runway was a letdown, and it was only a letdown. Her hometown look, she had this really cool gown that was made out of the map of the London Underground train with the actual stop names as the gown. Like she would hold it out like this. And then she had this really cool wig where she had like an oyster card, and the oyster is like their like MTA or Metro card that they use to tap to get onto the train. And then I think she had kind of like a train set glued to the wig as well. That look was so cool, but she couldn't wear that because production thought that they would be sued by the London Underground. So she had to wear the kind of like the Thames inspired look, and her Queen Elizabeth look was like this really weird caftan look. So I was hoping that she was going to give us this beautiful fashion moment, and she didn't. She wore like this really basic gray um, business dress suit that was just very blah. Her wig and makeup looked great, but from the neck up, she looked beautiful. From the neck down, she was giving me um, business um, interview look, and it just was not good at all. Cheryl Hole had on a very basic mall outfit, and then she kind of like tore that off into this kind of like gold lame swimsuit that was still basic, but her wig looked great and her makeup looked great. I love the wig on her. Crystal gave us a Mugler moment. One thing from my childhood that always stands out is a Terry Mugler fashion show, and I don't remember the year, but Terry Mugler featured one year these really cool, um, like what are they? Not like these really beautiful coats. I don't know what the style of the coat is, but these really cool like overcoats, like fall overcoats, um, that were gorgeous. But underneath, all the models had on these like latex cat suits, and so it was very bizarre. Like I'd never seen anything like it. It was like um, fall winter coat, and then like this latex fantasy underneath. And so Crystal wore this really cool, kind of like burnt orange, um, more summer coat that was really beautiful. And then she took it off and had on this latex catsuit with this really cool um, rope harness corset that he actually um, tied himself. And so I thought that was really cool. And he had a like a leather headpiece that was attached to the suit, and the hair was all black and pulled into a ponytail. So I love that. Another look that I liked. Scaredy Cat had this interesting play on Bond Girl. So it was really kind of like pilot theme. She had this kind of like pilot's jacket with a skirt, this beautiful red wig, and the signature cat-like makeup. And so I liked her look. I really liked her look. It was very in vein of Scaredy Cat. Very kind of like thrift store chic. And so then we had Davina, um, who I really appreciated her look because I felt it was very different from what she presented last week. And one of the guest judges was Graham Norton, and he said that it was um, the look that was the greatest transformation from the skit to the runway. And so she had this really beautiful black gown with this really nice slit and black sheer stockings. And her makeup looked incredible as well. And then we had Blue. I really wasn't wowed by Blue. She had on this kind of like pleather um, chap situation with a pleather swimsuit, and she had this kind of like reveal that she was wearing three breaths. And so I don't know, like my top looks were the Vivian and Crystal. They looked the best. And so we see the full skits played out. And so in Team Vivian, I really liked Baga and something, and in Team Scaredy Cat, I only liked Davina. And so we hear that Team Vivian wins. Um, they win, so they win um, the challenge, and we learn that Baga wins the entire challenge. And actually, I think I missed Baga. She wore a Liza Minnelli inspired pantsuit with a with this really cute hat. And Baga is more of a kind of like comedic character, so she can really wear anything and get away with it because her humor will come through. So everyone in Team Scaredy Cat is up for elimination, and so the judges kind of like talk about uh, their performances during the skit and then their looks. And so we learn that Davina, Crystal, and Cheryl Hole are safe, leaving Scaredy Cat and Blue up for elimination. Scaredy Cat, I figured she would be up for elimination because she was the team captain, and they um, didn't like her performance during the skit. And with Blue, all of the judges felt that she faded into the background. Before the performance starts, Scaredy Cat says that she has never performed live ever. And so I just don't understand how can you enter into a drag competition and you've never performed. I would think that if you get word that you're going to appear on a show where eventually you will perform, that you would at least take a dance class, try to get in a quick performance before you're swept off into this contest. But oh my god, I would panic knowing that at any point in time I'd have to perform. So I want to be prepared. So they perform, and I was hoping that Scaredy Cat was going to surprise us all and reveal. I've been taking dance classes, um, so you all just be prepared for this like extraordinary performance. It was the complete opposite. It looked very awkward. Her performance. It gave me gothy Kendall. Just um, odd, strange movements. Um, Blue really just danced circles around her. And so we learned that Blue is staying in the competition and Scaredy Cat is leaving. And I actually loved Scaredy Cat's aesthetic. She had this very whimsical, nymph like thrift store queen look. And I love that. Um, and so I am excited about next week's episode. Hopefully, they pump up the fashion. Like, um, the fashion is lacking, and next week their challenge is to make costumes out of trash. And so I hope that Vinegar does not disappoint next week because she needs to give us a fashion look on the runway. Because if you go through the halls of Drag Race, you know that Ru is looking for high fashion. Um, so in the comment section, tell me who you think should have went home. Do you think it Blue should have went home, or do you think Scaredy Cat deserved to go home? What are your thoughts about Scaredy Cat's performance? Um, and tell me who you are rooting for. Um, until next week, love everyone. Treat everyone with kindness, especially our trans brothers and sisters, because they are the most vulnerable in the community. I hope that you guys have a wonderful week. Until next time, besos. Mwah.